Today, we talk about how to save the world. Maybe save it's not the perfect fitting word. We could use clean up, repair, and protect our planet. There is no utopia, there are plenty of solutions. Actually, 366. In fact, that's the name of the project that we are going to talk about with one of his creators, Kevin Desmond. Kevin is a writer, a technology historian and biographer, and a scientific disseminator as well. Welcome at Ilbo Live, Kevin. It's a pleasure to meet you. Let's start talking about this incredible project. How is it born and what is its purpose?
Elisa, for many years, I wrote books about transport technology and then more recently books about electric mobility and electric, including books on electric boats, airplanes. Go back 10 years ago, I wrote a book called 300, I forget now the number, environmentalists who tried to save the planet. And I used the word save the planet. I could planet savers. And this was published, and it was a very good history book. But I realized that how can you write a history about a battle that is actually in process? You write histories afterwards. Therefore, you need to say how to win the battle. And I started this book, which was originally called So Many Inventions to Save the Planet. You can imagine it's changed since then. It is because somebody said, number one, inventions are not the only thing. Solutions, mindset are also solutions. And equally, the planet will save itself if it has to. But what you do need to look around from the bottom of the ocean to the satellites to know there's a load of trash circulating everywhere on the ocean, the gerbs, on the beaches, in the forests, everywhere. So that first one was cleaning it up. The second one was repairing it. So what is the repair? The big thing is the quantity of CO2 that we are indirectly and directly responsible for. So we have to find a way of consuming and absorbing this CO2 and turning it into other things, more solutions. Then the final one is protecting. Now, protecting, let me give you an example. We have a thing in the sky called solar flares from the sun. When the sun emits solar flares, they can destroy every single electronic device across the sky, which alert us when solar flares are happening. We can at least tell the world, switch off your machines, a bit like a thunderstorm. When you have a thunderstorm, you take your plugs out. The other ones are how to alert people about the arrival of a tsunami. So that's part of it. I started off with, I think, an idea to do about 50 or 60, but it accelerated and I found more and more solutions. And the more I found, the more I was encouraged to know that people all across the world were doing amazing things. To give you, we talk about the cradle to the grave. There are people making diapers that are biodegradable for babies. At the other end, there are people making a way of taking people when they die, putting them into barrels, and within 8 weeks, they are beautiful compost. And between the two, you've got beer that's made of carbon dioxide gases. You've got steel that is made of using hydrogen instead of carbon and reducing emissions. Yesterday, I came across an amazing solution, a new one. Here's a scoop for you. Can you imagine the biggest poultry farm in Australia? Millions and millions of hens now running on solar power and therefore not needing electricity from coal power. But everybody talks about coal-powered power stations. There's a company, there's a university that has come up with a thing called, it's an alloy, which when placed in you can take out the coal burning part of the power stations and put this miscibility alloy in and go on making electricity, but clean electricity. People are not aware of this. Elisa, when people tell you, oh, this is no longer, they're out of date. Nearly every time they're out of date. And what's exciting about 366 Solutions, as opposed to a book, because it was going to be a book, but a book takes 6 months, you know, from your book on medicine, that a book can take 6-7 months to produce. And when you want solutions, you want them now and the latest update. So a website is far more fluid and mobile, and that's why we did. Now, tell you a secret story. We were originally going to call it 365, the number of days in the year. But I don't know, but somebody had bought the domain name, hadn't they? So I said to my friend Jeff, how about 366, a leap year? Okay. And he looked, nobody had bought the domain name. So that's why you got 366. But the 366 is for you or the people coming to the website to suggest their solution to us. Now, we don't want a simple solution like how to make butterflies into a hat. But if the person that makes butterflies into a hat or whatever has patented, I don't mean applied for, but accepted the patent. Number two, it's been published in a scientific journal like Nature or Science Daily or whatever. Number three, it's in production. Now that's the interesting thing, that they're starting to make these things. Now there's a woman in South America who said, what do we do with the leaves of pineapples? Have you ever thought what happens to the leaves of pineapples? No, she studied this whole thing, and now she's making leather handbags, false leather handbags, converted from pineapple leaves, instead of killing animals for their leather. So, solution. The important thing is when you look at each solution, which one a day, you'll see the problem is only 2 or 3 lines. It is not our job, Elisa, to tell people how the world is going wrong. There are lots of scientists and journalists who are doing that, making a lot of money doing that, and politicians. We are telling them, this is the problem, this is the solution, these are the websites where you can visit, and then at the bottom we have a phrase, what you can do. Now sometimes if you're making steel from hydrogen, the average person can't do very much. But if, for example, your day-to-day life, what you can do, you can take what this solution and say, well, I'm going to do that. Now, for example, there are board games, you know, that you play like Monopoly. Yeah, they're now green board games made of biodegradable material. So at the bottom of that, you say what you can do, go and buy the green board games and play them at home, you see. So sometimes it's a question of going out. And I think really, if when all the solutions, you will have the potential to completely re-equip your home with, dare I say this phrase, eco-friendly content. For example, when you have modern buildings have big windows, and millions of birds are killed coming into the windows. They hit the windows. But the German company produced a thing called Ornilux, which the birds can see there's a grid. And so they say, oh, I have to fly away. Humans can't see it. And it's saving millions of birds. So if you were having a new house built with big windows and you knew this solution, you would be saving birds' lives. And that's what it's about. It's a pragmatic thing. Do you know, Elisa, when Padua University was first established 800 years ago, because they were pissed off with Bologna, there was a guy who came up with a solution then called Fibonacci. And in England, there was a guy called Roger Bacon who came up with a thing called the magnifying glass. People have been going for solutions for centuries. We know that. Andrea Vesalius making his magnificent drawings, probably because he observed the anatomy lessons in the theater at Padua. Make us now, everybody's talking about the magic vaccine for COVID. And then there's a thing that some guy in America has come up with, a thing called messenger RNA, which will speed up the process. And his company is called Moderna. And these are solutions. I think when Greta Thunberg, this wonderful, legendary Swedish girl, says, you have done nothing, she hasn't done her homework as a schoolgirl should. Because if she come to our website, she would realize that there are lots of people doing things. Sometimes these things have been going for some time. We were led to believe about 140 years ago that there was this thing called petroleum, black gold, and this was going to change the world. The thing was, people at the time didn't actually think it's a bit strange going out into the middle of the desert to dig holes and then build ships to take them to be refined, and it's a bit of an inefficient system, really, especially when you've got sunshine all over the place. And when you haven't got sunshine, you've got wind, and you've got water turbines, and then you
Exactly.
combine them,
That's strange.
and you combine them now. I mean, I heard yesterday that you can now combine a hydroelectric power station. This is what Enel is doing in Catania. You're experimenting with combining hydropower with solar power, floating panels on the water by your barrage, so that when there's not enough water, the solar is doing it. When there's not enough sun, the hydro is doing it. It's the same with wind turbines. Majority of wind turbines at the moment are next to the coast, shallow water. Yes? But
Yes.
supposing you put those wind turbines in the middle of the sea, the wind is blowing much more in the middle of the sea than on the coast. Wind turbines at the moment have got to have foundations. Or have they? No. You float them and you have a solution. You asked me earlier what would happen when we come to 366 solutions.
And the future was one of my questions. Not the future of the planet, of course, that we hope to be safe and greener, but the future of the project. What will happen after the 366th day?
Well, I have to surprise you is that I am an obsessive researcher, and I have gone on every day finding more and more solutions. Yesterday, I found a solution for the green football stadium in England. How to make a football stadium and everything around it, the food you eat, vegan, the roof made of wood with solar panels, the whole thing. A football stadium is a solution if it's green, you see. But let me just tell you that I've calculated yesterday, especially for you, that if we publish one, based on the amount of research I've done as of yesterday, we have one solution day by day until spring 2022. Primavera 2022.
Wow, it's a lot of solutions.
But even that may come to an end. So I have a plan B. As you may or may not know, I think it's Utah, every year they have the electronics exhibition. I think it's called CIS. So how about we have an international solutions exhibition? We find a place and we have all these people with solutions coming under one building, after COVID, of course, coming under one building. And as you know, our solutions are divided into categories. We have energy, materials, mobility, planet care. So it's divided into those categories. So one end of the building, you have planet care, another end of the building, your home. And then what you have is this strange thing that happens in an exhibition where people from stand 5 go and go for a walk, and they look at stand 20 and say, hey, look what the solution they got there. We could apply it to ours. And it accelerates. It's a catalyst. So I think what I'd like to do as we further develop things is to develop an international expo. Now, the other thing you may or may not know is that I am working on a project in Venezia, which in a way is a solution. 5 years ago, I visited Venice and I was very disenchanted by the vaporettos and the noise and the fume and the noise. So I came home and I realized that Amsterdam has to be 100% electric by 2025. But they'd already got a start. They'd already started. So I said a thing, and I developed an NGO in France called Venice Agenda 2028, which gives us time. With 2020, it's got 8 years. And the idea was to get it going. And we linked with Asonautica in Italia, with Inland Waterways International. And what happened was that word must have got round, because in the Italian boat show, Giuseppe Bioniaro, Sindaco, said, "The future of Venice is green. We will make Venice green." I think he was pitching for votes, but never mind. In the course of what happened since, the city, the municipality, the region, Veneto, and government of Conti are going to put millions of euros into electrifying Venice, including a workboat developed by one of your professors called Guarnieri, Massimo Guarnieri, who is working on a workboat, because there's so many workboats in Venice. And to give you a little solution for Venice that came up, there's a thing called the e-dock. When you moor your boats in this old, beautiful city, you don't want a modern mooring point. They're ugly, white, you know. So all these boats moor on posts. Well, supposing inside your post you have the charging point.
It's perfect.
Yes. And you know, in London, there are 1,000 lampposts, you know, the London lampposts,
Yes.
and they can recharge them in the lampposts. And all the London taxi drivers are just like that. So solutions. And I think I had a funny thought yesterday. You'll love this. What happens to people when they die in Venice? Well, they have to go on in a boat. They have to go in a hearse, you know, to take the
Yes.
body to the morgue. So, do you think that the hearses are electric yet? There, we have another solution to try.
You're
But
amazing, Kevin. Kevin, let me ask you a question about the solutions. How do you find and select all the solutions that you publish every day and that we can see online?
okay, well, a question of selection is, now we've got to the stage of what's missing. But in a way, it's like saying you're brushing your teeth and you look at a toothpaste tube and you say, crikey, that's made of aluminium and plastic and it's going to end up in the landfill. So you come to the magic oracle called Google and you type in, are toothpaste tubes eco-friendly? And immediately they'll tell you why not. Then you type in eco-friendly toothpaste and you come across a girl in America that's made little tiny pills which are delivered in glass jars. You crunch them and you clean your teeth. And when you've run out of the glass jars, you ask for a refill. I think it's a question of asking intelligent questions. I mean, when I started writing books back in the 70s, I'd go to libraries. And when I was in the libraries, I would just think, well, I want to research that. Oh, yes, that's over there on that shelf. And I would look through the shelf. Now you're doing it virtually with a library that is bigger, in fact, than the Great Library of Alexandria. It's massive, Google. You know, just huge. It's just unending. So what I do is I do that. But having discovered that somebody's doing something, then I want to know the scientific backing. Now, there is a website called ResearchGate that publishes scientific articles of many types. So you type in the same thing, ResearchGate, and you might get a scientific article. Then you also say, if the person that's invented this is called Elisa Sparanello, you type in Elisa Sparanello patent, and you see if you've taken out any patents. Then, if you want to see the latest things happen, you go to Google, you type in your words, and then you type in news. And it says 6 days ago, 10 days ago, 5 hours ago. Look at the American elections. No, maybe don't, but 2 minutes ago, you know, and that you begin to get a structure. And then you have to go, if you want other things, you have to go to the Facebook page or the LinkedIn page, and the tools of the trade, really. You have to be careful. If you have something that was invented or developed, a solution, let's say in 1998 or 2001, and you see no updates, nothing, either it means that it failed. Because if they're going to go on being successful, they'll go on posting things, which means you have to think very a type of battery based in Israel made of water. I won't name names, but this is all magic. The guy developed patents. They were going to test. They were going to go into manufacture in 2 months' time, and then silence. So I think I have to say, when I get to something like that, no. So you have to have certain filters to but then you have to make it sexy. For example, bamboo silk, silk made of bamboo, yeah, lyocell. Are you going to show a machine making it? No, you get a pretty girl with a nice sheet lying there, and you say, "Oh, look, she's in a bamboo silk sheet." And if, for example, yesterday we showed how they're going to Norway. They're going to bury CO2 on the bottom of the ocean. We don't want the machines. Just maybe a beautiful picture of the bottom of the ocean. I think Jeff Butler, who is my colleague, has spent 40 years in marketing products. I'm an academic, but he's a marketing man. So, for example, the beginning of the website, I was calling it diagnosis solution, and then we said, wait a minute, no, problem solution. It's easier. And then I said, actually, paragraphs are too long, shorten them. And the other thing, tomorrow's solution is, I want to read that. So we're marketing it. We're marketing the solutions. I think that's important. The Duke of Cambridge and Attenborough have developed a thing called the Earthshot Prize. And this will be, they're using almost the same words. We're going to be searching for the solutions for the planet. And the winners of the solutions are going to get £1 million each. So there'll be 5 prizes per year for 10 years. And I said to Jeff recently, do you think a website that provides 500 solutions merits a prize? And he said, not yet. I realize that the planet is very, very seriously threatened. I realize that we may even be, and I'm realistic enough, we may even be just, these solutions may be what they call in medical palliative to a dying man. But I have a belief that if everybody mobilizes in many different ways, do you know the paintings of Impressionists? Well, one of the techniques was called pointillism, which you painted lots of little dots. And when you looked close up, you couldn't see. But when you stood back, it was trees or boats. Well, 366 solution is like sort of pointillism. Each dot, each solution on its own doesn't make a picture. But when you get them together, then there's room. You might start seeing a rather beautiful light in the tunnel, you know?
That's all, Kevin. Thank you for your words and good luck with this incredible project, and also for the exhibition that I think it's a great, great idea.
Okay, Elisa, thank you so much indeed.